Alright guys, we're here tonight with this Saturday's champ, 14Henderson7. We're going to call you Hendo. How about you say hello?
How's it going, guys?
Alright, so let's start this off with the most basic question. Why'd you decide to play Shadow tonight?
Alright, this is going to go back to, I want to say, last format when Primal Origins first came out. Before, actually, the deck I played then was Sylvan's. And of course, everybody knows Sylvan's is a deck you need to think. It's a deck that's very combo based, and you can go off with just two cards, Lone Fire and Soul Charge. You just got to figure out what to do and when to do it. Anyway, before then, I played very linear decks, Gravekeeper, Fire Fists. I think I tried picking up Evil Swarms too, but I actually found that boring. But once I picked up Sylvan's, I liked the combo based decks, and then I started playing Shadal's. I was very what's the word I'm looking for? I was actually regretting the release of Shadal's because I didn't think, one, I'd be able to afford them, and two, they would just be too powerful. I wouldn't know how to play against them. But 2 weeks after the release of them, I actually took them to my locals for the very first time. First time going actually this whole format. And I ended up getting third place there, so I was pretty excited. So after that, I just kept playing the deck, and the fact that it makes you think, and you can go off with just the fewest amount of cards, and people still call you Saki over it, is just amazing. So that's why I decided to run them today.
Alright. How did the Light Swarm monsters play out over the tournament, and did you ever get terrible mills with them?
The terrible mills, I'm just going to go off the bat, was the final round game 2. I would have ended up decking out with 4 cards left. Fucking Burning Abyss is just Geargy on steroids. They float so bad. And it would have caused me to deck out. Other than that, Lila helps with back row, either destroying it or baiting it out. So Raiden helps me go into Stardust, and Crimson Blader also helps me get off my Shadal effects, which Beast was activated a couple of times, causing me to top deck BLS, and people get pretty salty about that.
Alright. Well, the last little point I want to touch on about the Light Swarm monsters is I'm looking at the deck list now, and pre-interview I was trying to decide, talking with Fresh, what we're going to cover, and I didn't notice this, but I'm noticing it now. Why you have more than 3 Light Swarm monsters here? You have 4 targets to be specific, but no charge of the Light Brigade.
That is actually something that I noticed missing. I want to say it was round 2 versus my Burning Abyss, because there was a point where I was like, Lila would be really good right now. I got one in the deck. Where's my charge of the Light Brigade? Oh, wait, I forgot it.
Oh, ouch. Okay.
So I did end up forgetting it. It almost cost me a match, but I ended up going through with it.
So fair to say it'll be an addition after the fact.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Alrighty, so why Effect Veiler over Breakthrough Skill?
Effect Veiler, I feel, is a lot more dominant because first turn, if I don't go first and I'm facing Burning Abyss, I can still Veiler their tour guide. According to, other than Breakthrough Skill, I have to wait for it to be set and then be able to activate it. Veiler, I can activate in my hand. It's not vulnerable to MST. It's vulnerable to things like Debunk, but nobody's really citing those now.
Okay. Let's see. Next question Fresh wants to ask is, Soul Charge has seen a lot of play in the Shadow deck lately due to the ability to make multiple fusions and make plays to affect the game state. Why only one?
One, well, I've only ever had to use one in my matches. I've never had to want to use more than one. I feel like with me with the deck not floating as much, I'm vulnerable a lot more times, so I'm not going to have as much life points to pay. And the one time I did side Soul Charge out was the match that I actually ended up decking out on. So if I could add another Soul Charge, if I wanted to find room, I would probably take out the upstarts, definitely.
Okay. Why the choice of discard traps in the main deck and in the side deck, and how did they play out over the tournament? Because I remember being surprised when I saw Karma Cut in Game 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is just an amazing card overall. I know Shadows don't get their effects when discarding, but it can get rid of dead cards, and if I don't plan on using like a Chaos Sorcerer or like an Upstart or anything like that, that's also like discard fodder. So Phoenix Wing Blast is good. It makes bad top decks even worse. And then Karma Cut, I usually just side out the Phoenix Wings for Karma Cuts simply for the Burning Abyss matchup, because if you hit Skarn late game, you get rid of the rest of their Skarns or one of their other Burning Abyss, and it's a lot of struggle for them from there.
Okay, and it's not a bad answer to Dante himself.
No, not at all.
Okay, dope. So on to the actual deck with some questions here. Um, let's look at it. We'll get to the initial question fresh, which is, did you miss Leo and or Dweller in the extra?
Yes, I did. Leo, I could have made, and I was like, damn, I couldn't make Leo right now, but I guess this play will have to do. I would definitely put Leo back in, and I would definitely take out Cowboy for Abyss Dweller. Me and Jinzo actually had this conversation a little earlier. Cowboy, for me today, was just a filler because something wasn't coming to mind what I wanted to put in, and Abyss Dweller would have been it. And then what I would probably take out for the Leo would be the third construct, because I hardly ever went into my fusions. Pretty much my win condition was Chaos Sorcerer or BLS, and then swarming, clearing the field with Castells, and then attacking for game.
Okay. Yeah, and I bet you really thought about that Dweller play when you were playing against Burning Abyss.
When I was decking out, I was like, oh my god, the weather would be so good right now. What am I doing?
All right. So a few other card mentions in the extra deck would be ones that I'm curious about, which are Stardust and Crimson Blader, because I feel a card that's being overlooked right now is Hot Red Arcfiend. So what do you think about those three guys?
Hot Red Archfiend is a great card, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to play it safe because of the fact that you're seeing Burning Abyss and Shaddolls now as part of the big three, so most of the time in big events, you have a 66% chance of facing monsters who get their effects when sent to the graveyard by card effects. So Red Hot Archfiend would have been kind of a minus for me, depending on, since I even faced two Burning Abyss matchups today, so I feel like it would have been good there. Crimson Blader, um, that's kind of like a personal card of my own that I have in there because of my own locals, because all the Burning Abyss players are playing Monarch variants. They're not playing the Astral Force, so when I go up like against Jeff Jones, this what's his name, Eli, you probably know one of them. I don't know if you know the other one, but he's on YouTube. They both have Monarch variants, and the fact that Crimson Blader can help shut that down, I've never actually brought them out against them, but the one time that I feel like it will happen, I want it to happen, I'm not going to have them. So I kind of have them in there just in case, simply because of that.
Okay, dope. And the last little talking point about the extra deck is, like I told you before the interview started, I like the Ixie selection minus the Cowboy, and it seems I reminded you of Abyss Dweller, so I hope to see that change. But is the Dire Wolf. A lot of combo decks, a lot of super aggressive decks have leaned on that rank 4 play when they can make the rank 4 play, just because it's a generic play that you can put on the field to force out whatever your opponent has, so you can then make the play you want to. Or in game 2, game 3, it addresses those you cannot play Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So why don't you go ahead and talk about that decision, because I really, really like it.
So Direwolf, I feel, is a good card. I have it in. I try and put it in every single deck that can make rank 4s, simply because it's good against spot removal. And if you know a deck is going to side Floodgates against you, you have at least one out to it. And if you look at my side deck, I also main deck 3 MSTs, because I know people are going to side in Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, but I don't want to clog my main deck game 1. So I usually side out the upstarts for the MSTs if people I know are going to side in Shadow Imprisoning Mirror against me, just to help get rid of it that much faster.
Okay, dope. Like I said, I really enjoy it, and you made me. It's a card that I, like you mentioned, would generically run in a deck of this fashion, but I just haven't thought of it here recently. Um,
Hmm.
Onto the side deck. Um, I saw Flying Sea do a lot of work for you.
Oh
I told you before
yes,
the interview that Stygian Dirge at 2
it
surprised me that it affected the games as much as it did. Um, but I guess other than the karma cuts, the talking points for me would be the two chain disappearance and the shadow roots. Chain disappearance. I've been hearing from several players, including close friends, that it's just not getting there lately. So I want to know your thoughts on it, and I want to know your thoughts on the decision to run shadow roots in the side deck.
Well, let's go with chain disappearance first. Chain disappearance. A lot of people, like you said, it's not as good. It's still good though. So because not only against Burning Abyss does it have three targets to work against, but it can help. It can help in the mirror match if you're trying to get rid of their Falco, to get rid of that, at least that level 2 tuner and the constant reborn. So I used it, I think, once in a Burning Abyss matchup because it's the only time I actually drew it, and it was a time I didn't want to use it. But it's probably going to stay in. It might get knocked down to 1, but I definitely want to try keep it in unless something else comes up. And then as far as Shadow Roots, um, if I have it in the side deck because if, let's see, if I ever feel like I need to recycle through my fusions, I'm gonna keep Shadow Roots in there because I can, if I have to, and I still have a, if I somehow either make construct or I send a lizard to the grave with a foolish burial or something late game, I can send Shadow Roots and then recycle the fusion if I need to, and just uh, at least have some sort of out in the future.
Okay. So, what matchups or cards were you afraid of going into the tournament?
Burning Abyss. Everybody will see my side deck. Burning Abyss. My side deck was anti Burning Abyss. Flying Sea because everybody forgets about putting Flying Sea into attack mode and ramming into one of my monsters just to continue with their play. Actually, the Burning Abyss in the finals, I was shocked that he didn't run into any of my monsters, so he could overlay into some other people.
Oh,
But
true. That is something that happened. He left it in defense for several turns.
yes, and it allowed me to gain an advantage to get not only hand advantage but be able to find outs to be able to play around him. Flying Sea, a lot of people forget that you can switch that you can still attack with it and crash it, and then continue with your plays. Um, Super Poly, that wasn't really for Burning Abyss. I only used Super Poly once, and it was on a tour guide after they got a Scar mount. That was more for like Satellar Knights and kind of, I don't want to say the Shadal matchup, but if I absolutely had to, it would have to be in the Shadal matchup too. But there's a lot of decks now that are either light or dark text in it.
Hmm.
Uh, and if somebody's running a BLS and they bring them out, I can super poly and do a construct. So that the MSTs for MSTs are really the only versatile thing in there. Floodgates and any back row I had trouble with. Shadal Roots Recycling, Karma Cut for late game Scarms and other Burning Abyss, Chain Disappearance for those three targets, and Stygian Dirge was the MVP in the finals.
Yeah. So it would be fair to say that Burning Abyss was the most difficult matchup of the night.
Yes, I actually 2 and 0'd everybody besides Burning Abyss. I lost game 2 against all of them.
Okay. Were there any decks or you know individual cards that caught your eye tonight?
Creative Writing account actually in the first round. There was actually 2 of them. The 2 that weren't Burning Abyss matchups actually caught my eye. Creative Writing account. I don't know what you guys call him by, but the fact that he mixed in the hands with Beals, that Beals Turbo deck, I thought that was pretty nice. It brings kind of like a stun portion to the turbo part. I thought it was fun. I thought I'd have trouble with it because he kept using so much of my resources, but I ended up outdoing him. And then I have to say the name Prognosticator. uh, when I seen hands and artifacts game 1, I was like, oh, this is against Hat. I know what to side. So I sided in stuff, and then next thing I know, he's throwing hand artifacts and battery men at me. I'm like, oh shit, I am not prepared for battery men. So I was actually really scared about the battery men because there's like 3 or 4 people running them at my locals who just explode and throw up on everybody with the dash, and I'm like, oh my god, how do I play around this? But I luckily in the end got the win.
Oh yeah, the Battery Man deck is definitely a nasty little deck floating under the radar right now, just because if the player is allowed to hold on to resources and manage some form of a controlled tempo, the mid game just gets nasty for the opponent.
Oh yeah, definitely. They'll just throw up the entire combos and just say, "Oh, GG game 2." Okay.
All right, and so to finish this up, we pretty much talked about some of the changes you would make. So, is there anything else you'd like to say about the deck or your knight?
The deck itself, I originally had 3 Raidens, but I knocked it down to 2 because I'm only running 2 level 8s. I would like to try and fit another level 8, but I'm probably going to throw in Leo in there because I could have made Leo one time, and a lot of these traps target, and Leo definitely gets around it. And also, what was I about to say something? Oh, definitely. Once the Moonlight Rose Dragon, whenever that comes out, I am throwing that in there as my level 7 because not only is that going to work against battery men if they ever become a thing, but that's also great against the Shaddoll matchup. The mirror match, Moonlight Rose, if you guys aren't aware what Moonlight Rose does, for anybody that's listening, when it's summoned or when a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned, you can return that monster. You can return one monster on the field to the hand. I think it is. I don't know. I don't have DN up right now, but it's something along those lines. It's like a compulsory for level 5 or higher, and against Shaddolls, I feel like it's going to be great against. So those are probably the only changes I'm going to do. Probably going to take out the upstarts, but they do so well game 1. I usually just always side them out game 2, so I may just leave those alone.
Okay. All right then. Well, we'd like to extend another congratulations to you. It's your first tournament win here at ETC.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That's your interview with the champ, and we will see you next week.